Hello, Sacral Beauty. Welcome to the SheSacral podcast, where we focus on burnout recovery through the power of sacred pleasure. If you're new and you're wanting to know more about the Myers-Briggs personality types, then be sure to check out the first episode of this series, which will dive into the burnout archetypes and how this framework all works a little deeper. But today we're going to dive into the personality type INTP. And your burnout archetype would be the code switcher. So if you've been living in your head and binging information and adjusting yourself for every situation while secretly feeling disconnected, then this episode is for you. Now, as an INTP, you tend to be introverted in the way that you draw in energy. You follow your intuition to process information. You rely on thinking with how you make decisions. And then you also rely on your perception with how you relate to structure and flexibility. Now, as an INTP, your sacred strengths are that you are deeply curious, analytical, and adaptable. You're a thinker who sees patterns others miss. You thrive on understanding complex ideas and finding innovative solutions. Your ability to adjust to different environments is a survival strength and a social gift. So let's take a moment to honor that. Your mind is sacred. But what happens when all of that adaptability and curiosity can turn against you and move you into burnout? Some signs that burnout could be creeping up on you can look like binging research or content instead of resting. You may feel safest in your mind and disconnected from your body. You start masking constantly and editing yourself to fit in, which leaves you exhausted and unseen. Some clues that your body's letting you know that you may be running into burnout can look like brain fog, tension headaches, and feeling low energy. Now, I want to take a quick pause because a lot of this information can feel super overwhelming. Click the link down below, which is going to take you to a free burnout pattern quiz, and that's going to get nice and specific for you to figure out what is really causing your burnout. So let's dive in a little deeper to understanding more about your burnout archetype. So when it comes to our nervous systems, we all have survival mechanisms, whether we go into fight mode or flight or flee, freeze or fawn. But for you, the freeze response is your default. Your body literally goes still while your mind races. Instead of taking outward action, you retreat inward, creating elaborate mental worlds, analyzing every angle before moving. This mental escape becomes a coping tool, a place where you feel in control because reality feels unpredictable or unsafe. On top of that, social masking is like running a constant background program, shifting your tone, interests, or even personality traits to match the room. While it may keep you feeling safe socially, it quietly drains your nervous system. Pretending to be just enough of what people expect costs a surprising amount of energy. So let's cover some core beliefs that could be shaping your burnout archetype. Some beliefs you might hold may sound like, if I show the real me, I'll be misunderstood or rejected, or something that's really not my intention. Knowledge is safety. If I learn enough, I can protect myself. Feelings are messy. Logic is where control lives. Let's go over some root causes that may have shaped some of these beliefs. In your childhood, you may have learned that your worth came from being smart, well-behaved, or high-achieving. Emotional expression was secondary, or maybe even discouraged. Early on, you may have been teased, dismissed, or criticized when showing your true self, which reinforced the idea that masking equals safety. And generationally, and from a generational standpoint, you may have learned that vulnerability is dangerous and emotional control keeps you strong. Now, for your core fears, the trigger can look like a social situation, a conflict, or maybe even emotional exposure. And a fear thought could be, if they see all of me, I'll lose acceptance or be ridiculed. Maybe you were even mocked or teased, and that left a lasting imprint on you. The response could be to retreat inward, mask outward, but then replay the scenarios in your head. The cost looks like isolation, loss of authentic connection, and chronic tension from living a split life. But I want to reframe this a little bit for you, because your intelligence and adaptability are sacred tools. The fact that you're able to do that is amazing, because many people can't do that. And I do believe that it is a superpower of yours. But safety doesn't only live in logic or in disguise. The deepest security comes from allowing your full, unfiltered self to exist, even if not everyone understands that. So let's dive in a little bit more on how this is completely impacting your body, especially if you notice you're going into burnout. Your body reflects the tension of living in those two worlds, the inner authentic self and the outer masked one. Chronic head tension comes from overthinking and scanning every interaction for possible missteps. Did I say something wrong? Did I do something wrong? Did I make a wrong gesture? Did I sound like I really fit that scenario? Did I sound like I really fit in? Could be constantly playing in your mind, and it's exhausting. Shallow breathing keeps your nervous system stuck in a low-grade stress state, never fully signaling safety to your body. Your digestion becomes sluggish as your body diverts energy from the gut to maintain this constant alert mode. You may also notice muscle tightness in your neck and shoulders, as if your body is subtly bracing for impact. The constant quiet stress of masking and internalizing emotions leads to cortisol dysregulation, either elevated too long or swinging between highs and lows. Over time, this can drain your energy reserves, creating chronic fatigue, PMS symptoms from your hormones being disrupted, and a noticeable drop in libido as your body prioritizes survival over pleasure. When it comes to your sacral energy, when your authenticity is suppressed, your sacral energy, the center of creativity, sensuality, and emotional flow, starts to dim. Pleasure starts to feel unsafe, almost indulgent, because your body associates openness with exposure. Over time, this leads to feeling disconnected from your own desires, creating a sense of emotional flatness or a loss of creative spark. Wow, that is a lot of information, but I want to cover the burnout habits that could be driving all of this. Number one burnout habit that's super common for this personality type can look like endless information consumption instead of action. You deep dive into rabbit holes of research, convincing yourself that you're preparing yourself, but in reality, it's just a safe distraction from situations that require your emotional presence. You may overanalyze and replay conversations rather than checking in with how your body actually feels. Embodiment practices for you feel foreign, maybe even uncomfortable, so you default to thought over sensation. You may also do a lot of masking for social survival. Like we said earlier, adjusting your tone, your language, your interests, everything to match the room. But that could be draining on your nervous system to try to maintain that level of performance. And you could also be avoiding intimacy. Deep connection for you can feel risky because it asks for vulnerability, which your nervous system has learned to see vulnerability as dangerous. So how did I get there a moment can look like you spent 3 hours curating the perfect playlist for a group hangout that you didn't even want to go to. Then you ghosted at the last minute. Why'd you do that? And you told yourself, oh, I'm just tired. But really, you just didn't want to risk the feeling of being exposed. Maybe you thought that, this playlist is probably cringy. No one's going to like it. Let me just ghost. I'm just going to cancel. That's a lot. Do you see how you could be burning yourself out mentally and not even realize it? So it's so important that we cover these things because while we can learn all the tips under the sun on how to reduce cortisol and how to feel better, when it comes to how our minds work, our minds are truly controlling our bodies. And so that's why I've put together the 30 days of pleasure rituals. So that way you can learn how to connect deeper with yourself and teach your body how to feel safe again through sacred pleasure. For you, when it comes to a micro ritual, I want you to try an unfiltered hour. Just spend 1 hour this week where you don't adapt, you don't mask, you just write, speak, or simply be. Be raw and be unedited, just 1 hour. See how that feels. And something else you could do is a nice grounding practice. A lot of times you can live so much in your mind with all the constant overanalyzing. So try walking barefoot, do some slow breathing while focusing on sensations. It's so important for you to be able to connect back deeper into your body so you can touch the grass or the ground or just feel the air or the wind on your body. Utilize this time to anchor your body. There's nothing wrong with craving and wanting that logic and that safety. I know that feels so good to you. That feels like a space that you can control. But the masking and mental escape aren't protection. They're just walls that block connection. So I want you to give yourself the gift of being unfiltered. Allow for yourself to be accepted for who you really are. And I know that's hard. I know that's challenging, especially when you've been taught early on that who you are in some way or shape is wrong. But I guarantee you there's a whole lot more people that are just like you. If we just take off the mask, we'll realize how much more we have in common. If you're listening to this and you're like, man, this sounds great, but I really need a lot of help here, then I would love to book a one-on-one session with you where we can dive in deeper to your burnout archetype, which stage of burnout you could be in, as well as creating a nice guide plan for you. So if you're interested, you can definitely click the link down below. And also, if you're listening to this and you're like, man, this sounds like me, but I'm actually a little bit more extroverted, then be sure to check out the next episode, which would be INTP, which is the rebuilder. And that is going to be our final burnout archetype for this series. Thank yourself so much for showing up today. And thank you for tuning in to the SheSacral podcast.